So you can imagine how discombobulated it is when he's brought forward into the starship. And after that, it gets complicated. But we hope to have a lot of fun with it.
I don't know if it's just me, but there seem to be a slew of science fiction mysteries around. Do they make a good hybrid?
No, I don't think they make a good hybrid at all. I think the people I know who've tried to combine the two point out the difficulties, and you know the classic difficulties. Mystery so much depends upon common knowledge of all the surface aesthetics, materials. It's set in a contemporary setting usually simply because all that has to be a given. The clues and the subtleties, the hidden things, have to be within a context we understand. And it's difficult in science fiction to do it without resorting to something social, technological, that's a fake MacGuffin that creates an easy way out. I think it's very hard to write a good science fiction mystery. I don't know too many people who've done it. Thanks, Dan.
The biggest mystery in science fiction these days is the plot of Star Trek VI. Paramount is quieter than the board of directors of BCCI. The cast and crew are sworn to secrecy. I've heard a few things, though. The villain, a Klingon named General Chang, is played by Christopher Plummer. It's directed and co-written by Nicholas Meyer, who directed The Wrath of Khan, so William Shatner won't be directing. Michael Dorn, a.k.a. Worf on Star Trek's The Next Generation, has a role in the movie. Let's call him up and get him talking. Maybe he'll let out a few secrets. Michael, it's Commander Rick. The Next Generation has gone where the original series never went before. Over 100 episodes, you're filming the 5th season. Is there a storyline you'd like to see someday?
Yes, I'd like to play myself. I'd like to play just a guy, just a regular guy. And there was a story of, the one that I like is Cyrano de Bergerac. It is the story where I play, Michael Dorn plays Christian de Neuvillette, and he comes to Worf. Worf, what can I do? Because Worf thinks of himself as Lothario, you know what I mean? He's as this ladies' man, and I'd like to do a scene where I go to Worf and say, oh, I'm trying to win this woman, and Worf likes this woman, but she thinks that Worf is a friend. That whole, I'd love to do something like that. In fact, I think that they might do that. I talked to one of the writers that loves Klingons, and he said that there is a script that's coming up, probably around November, December, that has something to do with that.
Great.
But that's one of my favorite storylines.
Well, it's a classic, but Worf will have to grow his nose before then.
They'll just make me a nose. That's the whole thing, is that Worf is de Bergerac. I mean, he's this guy, who is loyal and brave and all that stuff, but he's hideous, to some. We've gotten used to him, but he is sort of, this de Bergerac character, and lover and poetry. He loves all that stuff, and he's a romantic, a violent romantic, and somewhat masochistic, but a romantic nonetheless. And so it's a perfect role, I think.
You've also got a part in Star Trek VI.
Just I play my own grandfather, Worf's grandfather, who's Colonel Worf, and I play a defense attorney, and he has a. It's not pivotal, but it's a not I won't say important. It's not that big of a role, but it is there. Let me put it that way.
Can you tell me anything about the plot?
No, I can't tell you about the plot. That's not going to be fair.
Oh, come on, I'm in space. Who am I going to tell other than my cyber kick Nancy?
No, actually, it's better. It's better. I mean, the same thing with shows that are coming up. I mean, when people say, hey, what's going to happen? I say, do you really want me to tell you? No. I mean, they usually say no. So, but with the show, I'd like to be sort of loyal to the guys and not give away too much. Okay. Thanks, Michael. Darn. Well, there were all kinds of rumors sweeping through fandom at Toronto Trek 5.
The two things I've heard from various places are that Guinan, Whoopi Goldberg will be playing Guinan on it. That I'm looking forward to because I want them to develop her more. And Michael Dorn will be playing his own grandfather, who's apparently a very cruel Klingon. I'm looking forward to that. Other than that, they've been very quiet about it from what I've heard. There's a lot of little speculations around, but nothing that I'm willing to take at face value yet.
I don't have a clue. I know that George Takei gets his own ship. I mean, Suler gets his own ship, the Excelsior. Other than that, nobody dies, and it's supposed to be a very promising story.
Nichelle Nichols lost her skirt in the during the filming, and that's a blooper that you'll never see, but I know that. She told me herself, so. Now that's a scoop. Nobody else knows that except you and you.
I wrote a treatment for Star Trek VI when I thought they were going to do the flashback story. I wrote a treatment that would have killed off 5 of the 7 cast members, Chekov included, I hasten to add. That was, I think, rejected out of hand because Gene would never have accepted that, Gene Roddenberry. And then when I saw the script for Star Trek VI, I again dropped a note off to the producer suggesting that the one element that perhaps was missing, one can predict these things and one can analyze them, is that the picture lacked a gripping emotional core that would the audience would tie into, something that would really hold them, and that they might consider the death of one of the crew. I think it would also work in terms of the issue at hand. The issue at hand in our story, having to do with racism. And I don't want to get into any more detail because I'd be violating the code of silence here, but I thought that if Kirk died, we would have a situation that would ennoble mankind in terms as seen through our eyes, or how we deal with it. That was also discarded without discussion. I also suggest that if you couldn't kill Kirk, then kill Chekov, you know?
Or kill Spock again. He's bounced back from death already. But you 7 are the untouchables. Come on, I mean, killing one of you guys would be like killing Mickey Mouse.
That's right. Right. Same kind of ears. No. Yeah, they are afraid to mess with it. Now, I took them on face value that this was the last Star Trek. And, you know, you could still, if you wanted to write novels, you could still write novels that preceded all of this, and you could do comic books that preceded this if you were going to kill off the characters or kill off one character. But Gene would have no part of it. He just wouldn't have any part of it. And I think the studio felt that, from a very pragmatic point of view, that it was not wise. And actually, the way this film now ends, the door is not closed. Although the narrative certainly indicates this is our last voyage. The narrative, the final captain's log. There are things said on the last page of the story between several other characters that would suggest that if $100 million is brought in at this box office, there might be a Star Trek VII.
Always a sequel. I got a letter here. Oh, yes, you can reach me with letters and videotapes through my friends, or you can fax me directly. Anyway, James Collier of Georgetown writes, I'll give you the best parts of this. This is the 25th anniversary of Star Trek. I'm sure you're going to mention it, and I'd like to say something about it. Star Trek is dead. It may look flashier, but the soul and life have definitely departed. We forget how controversial the original Star Trek was. It was the Twin Peaks of its day. The Next Generation is bland. The Next Generation is no more controversial than Night Court, less if truth be known. Well, what do you think? Send me your thoughts. I can take Beta, VHS, Video 8, or HB2. Me? Well, I've talked to a lot of fans of classic Trek and the sequel, and the fans of The Next Generation always rave about the great special effects. And then they mention the stories. Star Trek had the first interracial kiss on TV. On The Next Generation, as James points out, it's still white men in charge. There's no cutting-edge topics. Nancy, what do you think? You've seen every episode, and you've got a crush on Data. Yeah, right, but try and explain that to a fan of the show, and you'll be cut off in mid...
Week on Second Nature, politicians debate automobile safety in a documentary entitled Gas Bags on Airbags. Also, the history of rocks.